Hello subscribers and patrons! My name's Random Rob and welcome back to the new show. And today I'm going a little more random than usual. In this episode I'm going to be looking at Robert Altman's 1977 avant-garde psychological drama Three Women and asking the question, is it horror? So director Robert Altman had a dream when his wife was hospitalized. And the dream he had was that he was directing a movie starring Sissy Spacek and Shelley Duvall. And it was a story about identity theft. And though I don't know whether it's true or not, apparently the full concept for the film came out of not just one dream, but several. Now, Robert Altman had a very good relationship with Alan Ladd Jr. And Ladd was also known for believing in and getting more offbeat projects greenlit. Movies that other studios might not have taken a chance on, like Star Wars. Now, apparently Altman sold Three Women to Alan Ladd Jr. in 5 minutes. He told a friend of his to pull over at the studio. He had to pitch a movie and leave the engine running. I'll be right back. The production would be shot in and around Palm Springs, California, and Desert Springs, California. The movie would star Shelley Duvall, Sissy Spacek, and Janice Rule, the three actresses who would play the titular Three Women. Apparently the project began with a 50-page treatment that Altman had written, and that, like many of his other films, would involve a lot of improvisation on the part of the actresses, as well as letting the actresses, to a certain degree, design their own characters. So, the plot of Three Women in a nutshell. Pinky Rose is a shy, awkward girl who comes to work at an aquatic facility for seniors. On her first day, she's put under the care of Millie Lamoureux, an experienced associate at the care facility who shows her the ropes. Eventually the two move in together, and we notice more and more that Pinky has a strange obsession with Millie and wanting to be like her. When Millie takes Pinky to her favorite bar called Dodge City, Pinky meets Willie, who owns the apartment complex and the bar with her husband, Edgar. As the film proceeds, we find out that Willie is pregnant with Edgar's baby, and that Edgar is a lecher and a drunk. Pinky's constant attention-seeking, trying to get approval from Millie, eventually boils over into an argument when Millie brings home Edgar one night to sleep with him, and Millie tells Pinky to get out. Pinky walks out onto the balcony overlooking the swimming pool of the complex. And the swimming pool, like many of the surfaces at the bar and the apartment complex, has been painted by Willie. We see several kinds of paintings that Willie does in the film. Small ones, generally depicting snakes, which she takes out and shoots full of bullet holes before she hangs them up. But in the swimming pool is one of her larger murals. And her murals all depict scaly, vengeful-looking male and female forms who all seem to be throwing one another to the ground and screaming, containing strong overtones of jealousy and consuming hatred. Pinky flings herself into the pool and is knocked unconscious and goes into a coma for several days. Millie attempts to track down Pinky's family from Texas and gets them to come visit her in the hospital. But when she awakens, she says she doesn't know them. Furthermore, she says her name is not Pinky, that her name is Mildred, which is Millie's name. At this point in the film, a strange role reversal happens, where Millie, who begins the film as the more aggressively and outwardly social character, becomes more pensive and withdrawn and takes a mothering aspect towards Pinky. And Pinky has now transformed into a more aggressively, outwardly social person. not only getting the attention from Millie's male neighbors, which Millie wanted for herself, but also kicking her out of the bedroom of the apartment. As the film moves towards its climax, Pinky has a nightmare done as a montage where we see repeated multiple images of the female characters in the film. We see their reflections doubled, and these mix with the images of the nightmarish, scaly figures that Willie has painted. It's at this point Pinky seems to break down a little bit and asks Millie if she can sleep in her bed with her because she's scared. After this, Edgar uses his keys to the complex to enter their apartment and get himself a drink, and hoping that he can fool around with Pinky or Millie or both. When Millie tries to get Edgar to leave, he tells them that Willie is giving birth and she's alone at the house. And Pinky and Millie go to her. Willie tells Millie to get a doctor. Millie tells Pinky to get a doctor. Pinky, seemingly frozen in fear, doesn't get a doctor and watches as Millie tries to help Willie give birth. The baby is a boy and is stillborn. As Willie clings to her dead baby, Millie, covered in blood, walks out of the house and seems to have snapped. She sees Pinky and goes to her and said, "You were supposed to get a doctor and you didn't," and she slaps her, covering one side of her face with the blood. Fade to black. In the final scene, delivery men come with a delivery of Coca-Cola for the bar. They bring it in to Pinky, who is sitting behind the counter. The man says, "I need somebody to sign for the order." And Pinky says, "I'll get my mother." And she goes outside and gets Millie, who's working in the garden. Millie signs for the order. The delivery man makes a comment about how he was sorry about the accidental death of Edgar, who has apparently been killed in a shooting accident, and then tells Pinky to go to the house and that it's time for them to prepare dinner. Pinky brings a Coke out to Willie, who is sleeping on the porch. Willie thanks her for the Coke and says, "I had the most wonderful dream, but I can't remember any of it." And the two of them go into the kitchen to join Millie in making dinner. As the camera pans away from the house, it comes to rest on a pile of old tires, under which we can probably expect Edgar's body to be buried. And that's the end. Now, what is Three Women really about? Well, I hate to say this because I almost always try to have answers for these sort of things in my videos, and this is one case where I'm not sure what the point of the movie is exactly. In fact, I'm not sure it has one. Having just rewatched it, one thing this film made me think about was Imago theory. How people tend to be drawn to other people who have qualities that they feel they don't possess. I mean, I would say the most striking thing about this film is the way that identity theft is layered into almost every scene in the film. Not just identity theft, but reversals, role reversals between the female characters. And how it's shown not just through the characters mimicking one another's behavior, but even in terms of what colors they wear. The use of color is very striking in this film. Up until the point that Pinky jumps in the pool and goes into the coma, for example, everything Millie wears is yellow. Her apartment is yellow. Her cups and plates are yellow. Her car is yellow. Likewise, Pinky, for most of the first half of the film, is always wearing pink, until she starts to openly copy Millie and begins wearing yellow herself. Up until her injury in the pool, when she starts wearing hot pink. Willie, the painter, is always shown wearing gray. And when Millie starts to take a mothering attitude towards Pinky, she starts wearing gray. In addition, the use of the paintings, the use of water as a metaphor for the collective unconscious, as the primal wellspring, the eerily underpopulated desert location also ends up lending the film this weird mythic quality. The way reflections are used, the way eye contact is used, the way that Millie and Pinky, in a sense, don't even seem to exist to the people around them that they live next door to and work with. For example, when we are first shown Millie at the spa, when she's handling the senior citizens, she seems very earthy and capable. But it's when we see her outside of that setting, we begin to notice that Millie is constantly just spewing an internal dialogue with herself about what she likes to wear, about what she likes to cook, about where she likes to go with men. And it's made apparent that everyone ignores her. In fact, it's kind of horrifying what a banal person she is. And this is made all the more uncomfortable by Pinky's single-minded adoration of her. And the constant repetition of doubled images, or characters repeating each other's dialogue or behavior, really makes us wonder by the end of the film if Pinky and Millie are really real. Are they just a part of Willie's psyche? Or are all three of them just one woman? We might also wonder, was Willie really pregnant? Or is the death of her baby actually dream symbolism for the murder of her husband? Altman himself confessed he never really had an ending planned for the film, and that it grew out of the writing process and the improvisations. So I can't tell you precisely what this film means, but I can tell you Three Women is a really disturbing, creepy film. Every moment, every line is stilted and uncomfortable. And the transference of the women's personality traits and behaviors feels like something malevolent. And that's why I consider Three Women an unregarded horror classic of the 70s. And to me almost feels like a sister to Brian De Palma's film Sisters. Also reminds me of John Carpenter's The Thing more than a little bit. Now, Three Women was not a box office success, but it was critically acclaimed at the time. Shelley Duvall won Best Actress for her performance at the Cannes Film Festival. And in the early 2000s, it was a film that Roger Ebert would proclaim it was his best movie of 1977. So, is it horror? Yeah, I think so. So what are some movies that are not typically considered horror films that you think of as unregarded horror classics? What did you think of Three Women? What do you think of Robert Altman? Let me know in the comments below. And if you liked what you heard, press the like button and subscribe, and consider becoming a patron of the new show. I could use your help. Alright, that's all for this time. This is Random Rob for the new show, signing off. See you next time.
The new show is made possible by generous support from viewers like Tony, Luz, Arnell, Skipnick, Christopher, Eric, and B. Thank you so much for your support.